Bierkergaard coming to you from Columbia, Pennsylvania, the epicenter of the known universe. Have a few tips on drinking craft beer. So the first thing that I would mention is craft beer usually, not always, but usually has higher ABV. That's alcohol by volume. So it may not taste like it has more alcohol. It depends on the malt profile, how many hops it has in it, other flavorings and things like that. So you can't judge taste alone. It's not like you're drinking grain alcohol. The alcohol is not that strong that you can usually get it as the primary taste, although you can get some sense for it. But there are some beers that taste very, very light, like a Belgian triple, because that's a pretty light kind of malting, and a lot of its alcohol comes from the fermentation of sugar. So if a person was to base their assessment of how much alcohol they drank on taste or lightness of the beer, they could go drastically wrong with Belgian triple, and plenty of people have. They've drank 3 of them, and then maybe at some point looked at the label and realized that they drank a lot of alcohol without really realizing it, because the normal regular mainstream beer kind of profile doesn't really fit. Like if you're drinking Colt 45 or you're drinking something of malt liquor, most people know that has more alcohol in it. But a Belgian triple looks light, looks like it could be like a lager. It's not. So the first thing is, before you start imbibing, is get a sense of how much alcohol the beer has in it. And a lot of craft breweries do post that. It's kind of a legal thing because I think reasons we talked about. Now, sometimes a craft beer can have a very heavy taste, like a stout, like a Russian Imperial Stout, a Belgian Quad, a triple IPA. I mean, that tastes strong, and it is strong. It's strong all across the board. It's strong in terms of the taste. It's strong in terms of the hops sometimes, and it's also very strong in terms of the alcohol. If you're at home or you're somewhere else where you can't see the board of a craft brewery, then the best thing to do is to look at the bottle itself and put your glasses on if you're like me and you're like a 3 blind mice and you can't see, and then look carefully and then figure out what your calculation is. A regular mainstream lager is probably somewhere in the 3%, 3.5 range. So an 11% Imperial IPA, a double IPA, or triple IPA more likely, is probably about 11%. So that beer has 3 times the alcohol that a lager does. So if you're used to drinking 3 lagers and then you're fine to drive within a certain time period, you have to adjust your calculations to saying that triple Imperial IPA is 1 beer equivalent to 3, and do the math. It's fairly easy, but you have to be attentive. And I realize when I drink craft beer that I have to be attentive, unless I'm like around a campfire and we're camping or I'm at home. Yeah, I still try to maintain a sense of sobriety, but at the same time, I'm not as worried about is hitting that DWI of 0.08% alcohol, blood alcohol level. That's the first thing. The second thing is day drinking is usually a really, really bad idea. I don't know about you, but I just can't drink during the day. Every so often I do it when I'm on vacation because I give myself a pass, but it's not real smart because you have a lot of time, and the best thing that's going to happen is you peak early, and you just feel kind of at loose ends from about 7 p.m. until you go to sleep. The worst thing that happens, you just blow through some beers and keep on drinking. And if you have to go to work the next day in particular, it's a really, really dumb idea. So I'm retired now, so I can afford to drink more, but I'm trying to keep within the 3 rule. Now, this is not 3 lagers. This is 3 craft beers. For example, I had 3 Belgian Quads yesterday, and that stuff rings the bell at a pretty high level. It's like 9%. My home brew's probably around there, and I'm drinking some Omegang 3 Philosophers, which is a Belgian Quad. That's probably about 9% also, maybe a little bit more, a little bit less, I don't remember. But another thing that you have to remember, and this happened to me on Saturday, my friend and I met at Rainy Cellars over in Millersville. It's a craft brewery that we like. After I got done with some disc golf, is that you have to have food with your beer normally. And if I don't eat food, it is not good. The alcohol hits the system all at one time. It like downloads into your system. And being old like me, then you have to go to the bathroom a lot. I find if I drink a decent amount of beer, and I had 3 beers at Rainy, I have to order food. Now, the downside is I'm cheap, so that's not good. I like to save money. Being in retirement, I'm not poor, but I have to be mindful of my money. So I don't typically go out when I go to a craft beer brewery. I typically just drink the beer and then I eat when I come home. So eat before you go if you're like me, or bring like some peanuts with you so you can eat on the way home. Don't bring it into the craft brewery or into the establishment. They expect that you won't bring outside food in, just like outside beer. Another thing that I would really recommend is also do some physical activity before you drink. I have really gotten into disc golf. I never expected to get into disc golf. It was never a plan for me to get into disc golf, but I can't mountain bike more than once a week. And even right now, I'm not mountain biking because there's too many leaves on the ground. And it's dangerous because you can't see where the rocks are. The kind of place where we mountain bike is fairly rocky. And you need some sense of what your line is going through a trail. And even on trails that I normally ride, the leaves just hide rocks that I don't know are there. And I wiped out about a month ago and really hacked up my calf on the pedal. So I put away the mountain bike until the leaves kind of decompose a bit, and then it gets cold and the ground gets hard. You can still mountain bike in the winter. In some ways it's safer because the ground is not as mushy. But if you fall, you hit a harder surface, but that's not a huge deal. But do something physical before. There's nothing better than doing something physical before you drink, and make it during the day. Yesterday I was watching the Dallas Cowboys and they were beating up on the Redskins. The Redskins made it close towards the end because the Cowboys tend to coast once they get ahead. They're not a killer team. They're not going to win the Super Bowl. They just don't have the killer mentality like Brady or whatever. But they were beating up on the Washington football team. Washington football team. Pretty seriously, and I just decided to go out and throw some disc at a local park called Fairview. They're building a disc golf course, and there's about 5 holes there. They don't have the launch pads yet in most places, but it was fun. And I went out for a couple hours, an hour and a half or so. It's close by, so I didn't have to drive too far. And I just took up a good chunk of the afternoon rather than sitting down and saying, hey, it's 2 o'clock, I'll start drinking now. I didn't start drinking beer until about 4, and that really works for me. I can drink beer from 4 plus. And then, I'm kind of nursing the Belgians. I don't drink them fast. And then by 7:30, 8 o'clock, I'm done. And, I had a lot of food. I ate a whole bag of onion rings in my new air fryer and had some wings. So I ate a lot. And then I drank a couple glasses of water before going to bed, and I felt completely fine. So number 1, check your ABVs. Number 2, eat some food. Number 3, move it to later in the day and try to do some physical activity before you go out and drink, because it's good, first of all, for your body. Your body's relaxed. And then you've also built a bit of you've depleted maybe a little bit of calories in order to drink some craft beer, which typically is higher in calorie than regular lagers. So those are my big 3 tips in terms of drinking intelligently craft beer.